And I remember, Joy, even with all this, I remember you talked about, with the political clamor for, in the 2022 succession politics, you talked about Central being a new bride, where everybody is now heading to Central. Talk to us about that.
You know, for the longest time, the Kikuyu community has been the kings. They were never kingmakers. They always had a player in the game. So apart from when Moi was in power, they were the ones who were providing Kenya with leadership. And now that meant that they were the ones who are picking who else will we add to our basket, who else will we add here to make the votes sufficient for where we need to go. But for the first time, we don't have a strong Kikuyu leader contender who you can say, by the way, this one is probably going to go, and all the Kikuyu can rally behind them. So what that means, here is a vote-rich region that for the first time in the history of this nation doesn't really have a dog in this fight. There's
not the predator this
time. Exactly. So this time around, it's everybody now trying to make forays into Central. And that's why I think there's the comparing with the bride. Because, I mean, if you're lovely and you're unattached, everybody's trying to see if maybe they can, you know, get you interested in coming into their side. So it's true. The Central Kenya votes right now are the prize to be won, as it were. But the misfortune with that, again, I opine, it propagates a negative ethnicity. Because when we organize at the lowest common denominator called tribe, then people don't think beyond tribe. And that's when we have, I like what Mulwa called them, characters of no character.
Absolutely.
Going somewhere just because you come from the correct tribe. You know, you're propelled by the force of people behind you. And I think that's the danger that we run with. But what we're seeing now is people in Central also trying to style themselves as the next big thing. So you see Moses Kuria trying to come out, you see Anwegoro trying to come out, you're seeing, you know, even CSK Unjuri, people trying to emerge as, you know, I could be a possible contender. For me, I rejoice because big man syndrome has been a big, big problem. And I hope the Luo community is learning that, you know what, this is the time to break off the shackles. Once Honorable Raila is out of the way, please don't replace me with another kingpin. Guys, let people prove themselves as leaders so that they are worthy of followership. But the thing that also stands out for me is that for once, people have to play that role of, you know, what are you bringing to the table? When you see that in the Kibra race, one of the ways people are being broken down is how many Luya, how many Luo, how many what. That level of ethnicity is what is not helpful. That's why when you hear about a talk of referendum, wanting to create what, 5 positions, if I was one of the smaller communities, I'd be thinking to myself, okay, so when would I be big enough then to sit at that table? Because it effectively muscles everybody else out. We need to come to a place where tribe doesn't count for as much. It should count for something, but it shouldn't count for as much as it does in our current politics right now. But there's something Ben said about housing, that they haven't built a single one.
A single kiosk.
No, let's give credit where it's due. They have built a few. Problem is that it's so way below target. But at least there's something
by the government.
Yes, there's something in Nyeri, there's something in Nairobi, there's something I think also.
By the Ministry of...
Yes, by the Ministry of
Housing.
He is called CS Hinga. And CS Hinga
the PS is a PS.
The PS. But the problem also we have is this lottery system, the Bomayangu system of allocating the same. First, we are building below target. We are building at a higher cost than we anticipated. We are still expecting salaried employees to pay for it. We are not expanding our tax bracket enough to pay for it. So we're getting to a place where I keep saying sometimes maybe the big 4 should be scaled down to the small 4. So that even if we are still targeting that direction, let's not do mega projects.
Let's do small projects.
Let's pick a fight. Let's tell every county, we'll give you 1 billion shillings every year, and that billion is split amongst the counties specifically for housing. You know, let's get something that at the end of the day we can say, actually, Buruburu was built, now Buruburu being just, this was built because of that initiative.
And despite all this, remember, we still have the division of revenue bill that is hurting the counties.
There's still a stalemate. There's still a stalemate.
Indeed. And we hope that can be resolved. But before we get into that, Jubilee has picked McDonald Mariga to run for the Kibra seat on a Jubilee ticket. I mean, this is very interesting, knowing that, you know, Kibra has been dominantly an ODM zone. But some people are saying that if Mariga actually takes this home, this is a game changer for Raila.
Yes, it would be actually, and it is very interesting to see what is going to play out in Kibra. There are several factors that are at play. Foremost is, as we are speaking this morning, the ODM as a party is stranded. They don't have a candidate or a front runner for that particular race. Another complication arises from the movement of one of his former advisors, Owalo, into Amani.
ANC.
Yes.
The third is that unfortunate breakdown, because nowadays you see, like the tribal mathematics in Kibra has been trending. I wish we were breaking down on the issues that affect the people of Kibra and perhaps match that with what Ken had achieved in trying to address those challenges, then start looking for candidates who have the capacity to continue addressing them. Unfortunately, we are not. Now we are boxed into the basic arithmetics. Oh, you know, now we have finally discovered that we have more Luyas in Kibra than Luos. So now Luyas feel they are entitled to secure that seat. And I think the move by Jubilee was very interesting, and it has actually complicated a lot of things for a lot of people, including other candidates. Because the fact is, Mariga grew up in Kibra. He's not an outsider. Mariga was born and brought up in Kibra. In fact, even his football career, he started off in Kibra. Secondly, Mariga is a household name. You know, there are two things that really stand out in politics: name recognition and face recognition. Whether it was by design or by default or by fate, as it would have it, Mariga was part of the betting campaigns, was the poster child of one of the betting companies. And you're going to find that Mariga has been present in Kibra for the longest time possible, even before he started campaigning. So, and by his virtue of international stature and his involvement in football, it is going to be a very interesting matrix to play out in Kibra. One thing we cannot take away is the reality that the former Prime Minister Raila still remains very powerful in Kibra politics. He still has a massive fanatical following in Kibra. But the entry of Mariga, because you see, when Jubilee picks that, they're doing the tribal math, and I'm sure even Raila would want to bank on that. If Mariga is able to convince, especially the Luya community, that they support him, and Jubilee throws its weight, whereby we have the Gema vote and the other dynamics, that gives Mariga by numbers, not by actuals on the ground, gives him a massive head start. But I'm sure whoever ODM picks on Saturday is going to be, the entire party machinery is going to throw their weight into that. But there is another factor that I am waiting to see. Contrary to what people are saying about the deputy president's involvement in the nomination of Mariga, the reality is the deputy president does not exist in city politics. He has no clout at all. In Nairobi, zero. But there's another interesting dimension. The Nairobi governor, Mike Sonko, is a force in Nairobi politics. And Sonko has no problem at all with any part of the city. And if he decides to throw his weight behind Mariga,
any of the candidates,
I think ODM have better off just agreeing at this point that they can't take that.
Joy.
I don't know. I think this is ODM's seat to lose. If you ask me, this is
it is there to lose.
It's their seat to lose. The stranglehold that Honorable Raila has in the imagination of the people of Kibra. He was their leader for a long time. And if he endorses someone, I think his endorsement would be bigger than Governor Sonko's endorsement. And anybody who, that's why there's so many aspirants trying to get the ODM ticket, because if you get the ODM ticket, you're halfway there, in my opinion. We underestimate the biles people have in that part of Nairobi against the Jubilee government. I mean, they bore the brunt of the post-elective mayhem. They were beaten, they were curfewed, their businesses were shut down. They had the worst of it. And there's some people there, if you talk about the despots, I mean, despots must fall. It's still a rallying call in that part of the world.
Yes.
So even with name recognition, even with face recognition, even with Jubilee machinery backing him and possibly Jubilee big money backing him, Mariga would still be a very hard sell. We've seen some very popular people. I mean, Pius Mwiru had a church with how many thousand people? But when he stood for elections, I mean, he did not manage to gather a few thousand, did he get? Or somebody like, you know, Boniface Adoyo. I mean, he was in charge of Sitam for how long? And Sitam had a huge following in Nairobi. But he couldn't get the senator seat in Nairobi. So you can have name and face recognition, but that doesn't necessarily translate into votes. So in my opinion, this is actually ODM's seat to lose. However, Mariga getting in the fray is something I don't think ODM had anticipated and didn't plan for.
So definitely has shaken up things there.
Not just that, it's also the choice of candidates.
Yes.
It's a type of, you know, if they just picked some other, you know, random Dirango to run, they'd be like, this one's in the bag.
So it was very strategic.
Mariga is somebody who is likable, is sellable, and has a following on his own. I'm sure there's some bettors who look at it like, you know what, I got some pretty decent winnings from that, and here this one is just to say, you know, kurudisha mkono. So it complicates things for ODM. But over and above that, I think also that politics of let's forfeit this race like they did in Uganda and Embakasi. I think also Jubilee got a place for like, are we getting irrelevant in this entire play? Why are we forfeiting all? Let's just put our head in the game. And I'm glad that they've done that this time round. It will be a real contest.
A real contest.
It will be, yes.
Thank you so much.